Trying to get ready to join your chat channel. Meanwhile, why don't you invite your friends, relatives and families? Don't hesitate to share the information at your social media channels and also send SMS message via WhatsApp, Telegram signal. In Uppsala, my guest is Cornelia Svärdström. Hello Cornelia, how are you?
Hello Sardar, I'm great. How are you?
Fine, fine. I feel much better after I see you. Thank you very much for accepting to be my guest. I have a question to you. You are, we just put the title as a former student because you are former student of a university and you were very active at the student union. Can you please tell me why you didn't focus on your education but you were active at the student union?
Yeah, so it was actually something I surprised myself. I never thought I would be the kind of person to really delve into the social parts of the study life. But one day I thought...
What's your education? So maybe we can let all the audience to understand why you couldn't relate.
So I'm a civil engineer in biotechnology from Uppsala University.
Cool.
Yeah. And I think it was during my second year that I felt comfortable in my studies. Everything was going all right. And I had a lot of spare time, or not a lot of spare time, but some. It's hard studies. But I felt like I could do something more with my time. So I applied to a small job at the student union and I got it and then I was hooked.
But didn't you think, okay, I study biotechnology, it is really hardcore. Biology, technology, mathematics, statistics, it is really hard. And you know, new domain, it is great. But didn't you think, okay, I should focus on my lectures, just stay at the lab?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the first 2 years, that was all I thought. But then I saw the value of, I mean, there are some things you can teach in a classroom, and there are some things that you can only learn by yourself. So there are so many things like leadership or conflict solving or just general group work that of course you can talk about the stuff, you can talk about the theory in a classroom, but it's a whole other thing to actually be a part of a team and work in a project together with other students. You learn something new and you just grow as a person, and that's something I think classes can't really offer. So it's a complement to my technical studies to also have the actual social side thing that makes you grow as a person too.
I think I can talk a little bit since I had engineering degree. This was the main challenge because when we only think mechanically, like with the conditions of the lab, mathematics or science. So we might have some problems in the social skills, like how to act in the meetings, how to talk, what to do. So do you think it was really beneficial for you to be at the union?
Yeah, 100%. I don't feel bad for the persons or the people with the highest grades they're really skilled at what they do, at the technical stuff, but there's just some things that they may be lacking in where I have a clear advantage because I've worked with other people. I have worked in really diverse teams, and that's something that I think is invaluable when you actually get a job and you enter the market. then you can really.
Can you tell what do you mean with diverse teams?
So first and foremost, there are students from every civil engineering programs who can go to the student union. So you meet people from different backgrounds, different study programs. Some aren't even engineers at all. So they come from different backgrounds, they know different things. Also, that was really great for me because I got a lot of friends who studied IT and chemistry and physics. And when I entered problems in my own studies, if I took a course in chemistry where I'm not as familiar as I am in biology, I had tons of friends, so I could always ask someone. So that was
Okay.
also really nice.
Can you
So
also,
actually, it helped me in my studies.
I see. Can you also tell me what type of things you did at the student union so that we can know why it is beneficial to join student union or this type of organizations?
Yeah, so I did many different things, but the kind of biggest projects that I was a part of was it's a Walpurgis tradition. Last of April in Uppsala is a huge day. We have what's called the river
Valborg.
rafting,
Yes.
Valborg.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a huge event, spans 2 weeks. So I was a part of that committee that organized the whole event. I was responsible for security and education of everyone who participated. And that project has a turnover of around 270,000 US dollars. So
Wow,
it's a very
good.
big project.
Yes.
Um, and as a student, you only have the student loan. It's not a lot of money. And then to go into this huge project and actually have this budget that you're responsible for, it's a great responsibility, but it's an amazing experience to be able
Of
to,
course.
like, you practice. You have a small practice bubble before you enter the work life.
Does
So
does
I
it
think
also
that's
help
great.
you? Does it also help you when you apply for a job that you were member of union, you run this type of projects, or nobody cares?
Yeah, I thought nobody would care, but it turns out that people do care. People are impressed, and a lot of people, maybe they don't know exactly what it entails, but they understand that you are a driven person. They see that you have some kind of passion, and that's a really great thing to have on paper, on your resume. And I was actually hired because I had some connections from former friends who had done similar things to me. So they mentioned me to their boss, and the rest is history. So yeah,
Great.
for sure. Yeah.
So actually, it provides networking because how can people know you?
Yeah.
Because you send the CV, but how can you judge based on paper? So it takes so much time, like invite for interview, etc. But if you get some recommendations that already work with you, so it helps, like, in private life a lot, it seems.
Yeah, absolutely. I have a huge network, I think, compared to my friends who just focused on their studies. I have, yeah, a big network. I know a lot of people that I can ask questions or get help from or get tips on new jobs. And that's something that I really didn't understand the value of when I was a student. But
Really?
when I entered, yeah, so it was a great surprise when I started applying for jobs and realized that, hey, networking is really important, and it's a great source
You actually
of
gave
jobs.
very nice input. Tell me, what would you recommend to students that are going to start to study at the university or that are already at the university? What they should do? So should they focus on to get the best A, Bs, or what do you recommend? Of course, the best thing is to do everything equally,
Yeah.
but
I think you should at least try something. Maybe you realize that, well, this wasn't for me. Maybe I am more of a specialist. You get that kind of realization when you try it. Or maybe, like I did, I realized that my passion is project management and leading groups and working in projects. because that's something I never tried. It was never a part of my education, but I found my passion. And I think everyone should at least join some form of group. It doesn't have to be a big project, but join a group, a team with diverse people, and just try your wings, because everybody is more capable than they think they are, and they will learn a lot about themselves. And that's
Do you think
something you
also?
really can't. Yeah.
Please continue.
No, I think I was done.
Okay. But do you think also it is maybe less costly experience, because instead of starting working at a company for a while and understanding, okay, I don't like to do this type of work, instead of that you have this type of experience during school time, so you know what you like?
Yeah, I think, as I mentioned, it's kind of a test environment. You get to practice stuff that maybe aren't that important. I mean, you're not running a hospital. People aren't going to die if you mess it up.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
You're having a tent and you're serving beers, and the worst thing that could happen is that some student doesn't get their beer. So like it's an awesome test environment because it doesn't really matter. We're just students. So yeah, having that idea of who you are and what you like, it's great because then you can just kickstart your career instead of wasting a couple of years realizing that, oh no, I don't like this. I really would like to work in project management instead, or I shouldn't work solo. I want to work in a group.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. How about its impact to your grades? Did it influence that much negative, or do you think it was okay?
Well, it's really different for everybody. I know people who, I mean, they haven't missed an exam, they've scored A's on every test, and they've done something on the side. And I know people who've flunked a couple of courses. So it's really varied. For me, it was somewhere in between. I had some courses that I had to take again, some exams, but it was all worth it in the end. I mean, I have a great job that I got thanks to my contacts, and yeah, it's always worth it, I think.
Mm-hmm. Also, like when you work a couple of years more, who is going to care about your grades actually? Like at job, don't they care about your passion? Your knowledge about domain is fine, but also your passion, the way you deal with the people, because we forget that we are social animals in a way. So we need to be able to cope with other people. What do you say about that?
Yeah, I think, as I said, there are some things you can teach and some things you have to learn by practicing. So I think when you arrive new at a job, they want you to be able to learn quickly. And those, like, nobody knows or are expected to know all the technical details when you arrive at a job. You're an engineer, so
Mm-hmm.
sure, you are technically qualified, but there's always going to be things that you have to learn, and then you're gonna read a book or Google some things or talk with a colleague, and those are things it's okay to learn.
Mm-hmm.
But people who lack social skills, that's very different because that's trickier to learn, and it's very tricky to learn quickly. You have to like practice a couple of years to learn that skill, and that's a skill you don't really have on paper either, but
Mm-hmm.
it's really valuable in actuality.
Mm-hmm. Also, student union. Since it is a union, does it also defend students' rights? Can you please talk about that, because it's different than clubs? Why you didn't pick a club over unions? So is there any difference?
For the engineers, we have our own union. Uh, it's called the Union for Engineers and Science Students, and we are a kind of special union because we do a lot of social events, but of course we also look to the students' rights. Other unions focus almost exclusively on student rights. So it was really fortunate for me that I could be with a union that did both, because I did a lot of social stuff, but I also actually took a gap year and worked one entire year at the union, at the
Wow.
office that we have. So I worked as a student liaison officer, worked with student rights, education. I helped a lot of students in kind of cases. They came to me if they ran into troubles during their studies, if a teacher had been mistreating them or something like that. So it was a really interesting year to see. You got to see the university kind of from within. You got to be a part of a really big organization, and I learned a lot of bureaucracy in a good way, because you'll always you'll always meet bureaucracy, and it was a great learning experience.
Actually,
And
what
it
you
was
did,
also a very nice feeling to kind of help other students.
it seems also like we complain all the time about the bureaucracy, but there has to be some structures. It is very good to know this type of structures, so you were able to learn all because you were in the middle of it, because you had no
Yeah,
choice but learn all these structures.
exactly. A lot of structures, because Uppsala University is huge, and I was only part of the science and technology faction, so that's only a third of the university,
But
but that's big enough.
if you look at the science and technology engineering students, like, do you think it is good to have this type of social activities even though they are not part of these clubs, because it is also important to gain this type of skill sets? So unions are actually trying to provide this type of environment that they can improve their skill sets.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know really how many people are active, like working in projects at the union, but there's a lot of people, and we also provide a lot of smaller engagement. So people could be what we call buddies. So they're basically older students who just take care of new students when they arrive the first weeks of the new term.
I think it's
So
very
a
important.
lot of people, yeah, almost 700 people every year are buddies. And
Wow.
that's a very like easy thing to do, to feel like you help somebody else and you get work in a group. So it's a small level engagement, but
Hmm.
it's really great. And we have a lot of volunteers who also, they don't have a lot of responsibility, just enough, just a little, and it might get them excited to try some tougher stuff.
Yes.
So yeah, I think it's really important to offer that kind of alternative to just digging your nose into a book and reading all the time. Um,
Yes.
yeah,
I am really impressed with the things that you have done, and I am really happy that you got a dream job, and I wish you great job life, and hopefully if you want to pursue some other education in the future, I am sure you'll be very successful. Thank you very much for joining from Uppsala.
thank you so much for having me.
Dr. Zero Show right now connects to Helsinki. My guest is Sharbel Dahlan. How are you, Sharbel? It is great to see you.
Great to see you, Dr. Zero. How are you doing?
Fine, fine. I mean, it is amazing that we start to know each other from a course, later become a friend. So I am really pleased to see you.
Same, likewise, likewise.
I
Yes,
have
you taught me a couple of courses and we pulled it off from there.
but you were amazing student. Like I was impressed the dedication that you put all in these courses and the creativity that you brought to the course. You are right now working in the industry as a software developer, and there are many people trying to come to Scandinavia to study, but also they are already studying, but they want to get a job. And there are some people who are outside of Scandinavia, they want to get a job, and people who are already living in Scandinavia, they want to get a job in software industry. What type of recommendations you will give to these people?
I assume that if they're already student, already residing in the Nordics, be it Sweden or Finland or any place, they have the background about software. Of course, like getting the first job is the most difficult because you don't have the experience first, no commercial coding experience. But I think like the main idea is to remember that you're not starting from the zero. All of those school times, you are starting from somewhere. You have projects in which you have different people who behave in a different way, work in different ways. So you already have that experience. So try to put that forward whenever you talk in any sort of interview or anything. But of course, we all know that if you want to apply to jobs, just like, let's say, the traditional ways, it's hard. You need to have some sort of connections. Now, how do you form these connections if you're new in a country and like, let's say you're barely living there for 1 year? And that is achievable by attending a lot of events. Nowadays, there's a lot of those startup events, for example, or hackathons. So I can give an example. In Finland, there is Slush, which is this huge startup event, which is like now it became global. It started, I think, maybe 10 years ago or a bit less than 10 years.
It is the largest event, I think, in Nordics.
Absolutely. Every year there's like a committee of students. So 20, 25-year-olds are managing it. And it's really huge. Like, I think when it started, it was hundreds of attendees. Then it became thousands or hundreds of thousands. And it's like this 3-day event where a lot of startups are available. There are a lot of things like pitching among startups and booths where you can just go talk to founders of really hot startups in Europe. So, of course, like I mentioned startups because it's very common to have software engineering jobs in such places. But it doesn't have to be like you can also work in bigger companies, like older, more established companies. And that is also possible to find them through such events or through hackathons, for example. There was, for example, this Junction hackathon, also very...
was it in Finland?
Yes, in Finland.
Yes.
There are like startups and also big companies like Skype, for example. They have some idea to improve something, and then you can go there as a competitor, attend the hackathon. You don't have to have an idea even. You can just go and find a team there. And basically the idea for attending these events is first and foremost forming connections. So you can talk to people that are already in the companies where you might find your jobs. And then also, of course, other things is like, if you have an idea, you can validate it. If you do not have an idea, you can still go, but then get inspired about what sort of things could be done there, what other teams are doing as ideas. So, all of what I just talked about is like trying to just be out there, attend events and form connections. And that will make it more likely for you to join, let's say, to get interviews with your potential employers. And of course, like on the other side, I could say you could improve on your technical skills by having some side projects to show. And I guess like it's, as software engineers, we have this luxury that we can show something that we have created. But I understand it takes a lot of time and effort. Somebody needs to sit down and work, whereas they don't have a job. It's really stressful, and I wouldn't say it's an easy path and rainbows and butterflies. But I'm just like mentioning the few ways that helped me, for example, kickstart my career, is by having side projects that I could show, because your employer wants to see that you can do something. So once you have something as a proof, you don't need to talk much. You let your work do the talking for you.
Do they care which language you use, for example? Or is it mainly that they care that whether you know software architecture, how to write coding, algorithms, etc., based on your experience?
I think like what's most important is that you know the basics of, or the foundations of software engineering, foundations of computer programming. So I assume like if you already have like some, or you're doing your degree in computer science, computer engineering, software engineering, etc., you already have this foundation. So the language I would say does not matter unless you're going to a place that is, for example, a Python house company whose product is purely Python, and they want somebody, who can like start working like really soon. But I think like what's really appreciated is what like the foundations of software engineering, because languages change, technologies change. That is always good to keep in mind, and it's always good to communicate that to employers or to anyone that in the end the language you can learn it with some time, but as long as you know the foundations, it's not going to be a problem.
Okay, and you're talking about getting a job. Let's say I got invitation to job interview. Is it different than job interviews in other countries, or is it similar? So what do you suggest? How should I get prepared to job interview? Can I go with suits or can I go with blue jeans? Tell me, how is the rules in Scandinavia?
In the Nordics, I think mostly, or maybe it's industry related. So as a software engineer, you're not supposed to be like meeting clients, and so maybe how you dress up doesn't really matter. If you know how to write software, write clean code, and of course that comes with experience.
But
or with
Sharbel, there's one thing.
Yeah.
People say, "Oh, it doesn't matter what you wear, but you cannot go with shorts and slippers, isn't it?" Like
yeah, of course.
With a bikini, I don't know.
Unless you're really like writing very good code that everybody knows about, and so they don't care. Like, okay, just come work for us. I guess you can be daring and do that, but of course you have to have like the basic, decent clothing, be presentable and such. All I wanted to highlight is that it doesn't matter wear a suit or a tie or all of that, especially here. I mean, like in the Nordic, as a software engineer, it doesn't matter, just as long as you don't show up with with shorts and slippers.
If they ask me, do you want to drink something? Shall I drink or not to drink? How should I act during the interviews? Any suggestions?
If they offer you a martini, you can accept.
That would be great. Imagine that they offer, do you want wine, martini?
I guess if they offer, I haven't, well, it's normally like coffee or tea, what they offer. But if they offer drinks, why not? I mean, take whatever you want in the end of the day. People are humans, and here especially, like they care about what you can do at work. And yeah, it doesn't matter. Just be yourself and try to be genuine. Try to be genuine about what you know as well. So they really appreciate when you say, I don't know how to answer this interview question. That happened to me a lot, and it was appreciated. It was taken positively because, yeah, sometimes, a lot of times, like also the interviewers maybe are not prepared for the interview. A lot of times it's not because it's not their full-time job to interview people. Mm-hmm. So a lot of times they would be told on a short notice, hey, we have this candidate, come interview them. Yeah, I think what's most important is to stay communicative, and then if it goes wrong, if anything goes wrong, it doesn't go as much as how you wanted it to be, it's okay. There's plenty of fish in the sea. Just keep on going.
If I catch something, were you on the other side of the table to interview candidates? I wonder. Did anybody?
Luckily not. Luckily not. I have been a couple of times, but just more as a spectator. I didn't do the asking. So there were multiple people asking questions. So I didn't want to add to the stress of the person, like the interviewee. So I didn't really ask much.
But you could ask simple question then. If you don't want to answer, just ask simple questions so they can answer. They feel comfortable.
Yeah, they give them confidence boost. Yeah, I guess you can do that. Yeah, of course. I mean, now that I've been working for a while in the industry, I know how it goes when there is an interview out there and people are told about it, and a lot of times on a short notice or something. So, yeah.
Do they ask you to code? Because when I search, okay, how should I act during interviews? There are too many websites, so many strange recommendations. Like, do they ask you to code, or are they generally asking you general stuff? Because we hear also when Google or Apple hires, they have so many processes. How is it in Scandinavia? Does it depend on the size of the company, or does it depend on the task that you are going to do?
It's really broad. Like, it can vary from let's say like from company to company, like even two companies that could be competitors, and they do the interview in a really different way. So some of them, yes, they ask for live coding. Some of them ask you to architect, for example, a solution to them on the typically on a whiteboard. A lot of them nowadays, of course, they ask for a coding assignment. So you make a solution on your own time and then you turn it in and then they check your solution. I personally prefer that because I think like that's what shows what you're capable of doing rather than, of course, like live coding and such, because there are different circumstances in an interview from the actual day-to-day work. But of course, like I think it's important to remember that when you're doing the coding interview, what you're expected is to communicate what you're thinking of out loud, because they want to see your way of thinking, how you're approaching a solution, how you're breaking it down. And, you know, this can be broken down to 1, 2, 3. Let's start with this. Always be talking about it as if you are giving a tutorial or something, you know, so don't think in silence, so that they, you know, most of the time it's about knowing how you're approaching a solution.
Okay. So it is not the answer, but your way to find the solution.
Your way to find the solution, absolutely.
Perfect, perfect. Sharbel, I am really pleased to host you. Thank you very much for your time, and looking forward to seeing you again.
Thank you so much for seeing you too.
Dr. Zero Show right now will join to Wales. I have very interesting guest. I am really excited to host her, Meltem ARIKAN, who is an author and at the same time complementary health practitioner. Welcome.
Hello.
Nice
to be here.
Thank you very much. It's great to host you. My question is very straightforward. You are actually well-known author for 25 years with 11 books and 5 theater plays, and then recently you start to work as a complementary mental health practitioner. Why did you change your occupation? Can you please tell me the story?
Of course, it's a little bit long story, but you know, actually I didn't change my occupation. Life just pushed me. You have to do this, because what I have been through is really like very, very absurd. And everything started with an absurd play, which I wrote in Turkey.
When was it? Can you please tell the story of the play?
Yeah, I wrote a play called Me Minor. It was an absurd play, and it was the first play in the world. Back then, we just use all digital equipment in our play. So you can use your phone, your tablet when join your play. But people love this play. A lot of young people joined our play, but then it's obvious Turkish government don't like it, and they accuse us to be coup d'etat.
Was it the play was like authorship, authority, or some type of dictatorship in a country, and then was it like this? Why they didn't like it?
They didn't like it because, you know, it is an absurd country, and we have a very interesting president in the play. But what happened when I wrote play, after a couple of months later, Gezi events start, okay? And a lot of things became similar. But I don't understand why I'm responsible, because I wrote it before, and then what happened later, how can I control it? Even some people called, oh my God, Meltem, you are a Nostradamus. Because a lot of things happen very similar, but how can I responsible this? It is a big question.
But then they accused you as the brain behind this coup, or what happened? Because it's similar.
No, don't just accuse all the play. Only Melih Gökçek accused what you said. But the government accused to coup d'etat with 16 people, as you know, Osman Kavala in the same case. So they made a case and they said we are terrorists, we are trying to destroy government. And
with
now
with a theater play, like you were able to destroy the government with an acting.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
You are so powerful.
You know, Yeah, and they want the lifelong prison without parole. So it is so weird, and we are all same situation. Osman Kavala case is so stupid. Osman is a businessman, so but it's now the reality really more absurd than my play. If you watch my play and then look at the reality, you'll see now my play is very reasonable actually. What is going on absurd than my play. Yeah, so I just moved the country. I just came Wales, which I always want to live. I believe I am Welsh, so I am fall in love in this country and this people. And I came here, but again, I have a lot of trouble. When I came here, then I just get married, my partner, then my partner have a brain cancer.
Oh.
And I lost him. I lost all my capital, and it was horrible, horrible time. So looking back at the last several years of my life, I have been thrown into navigating most of the challenging aspect and life experience, and that has been a complete cracking all of mask. What I mean that, and all these years, I diagnosed autism, and because always people told, yeah, because people always said I'm just crazy, I'm eccentric, I am the one, and I always feel I'm an alien. So I understand because autism how I feel, and I understand because of autism I try to be survive. I have a lot of mask, okay, and all what I had been through, they just cracking of all my mask. So this process,
you had no idea so many years that you had autism. And then,
no,
but since you learned how to hide it, how to mask it, you could survive until now.
52 years, okay?
Wow.
I have no idea. But the cracking process is not easy all. So sometimes really my soul, my heart, all my cells hurts. But it also causes me to recognize a liberation I have never known before. Because when you lost your mask, then you just try to understand who you are or who you are not. So the most significant benefit of this process is that I'm learning again like a child. And so revelate everything with curiosity and enthusiasm. It also gives me a chance to reconstruct the rest of my life without hiding myself, without being subjugated to anyone, and to live without fear. So it is so important for me. And this process, I finished 28 courses, and they're all level 3. So I got my diploma.
What do you mean with level 3?
Level 3 means it is you know what you are doing. It's kind of an expert level. So in England, if you want to work, for example, if you want to work counselor, then you need minimum level 3. You can't do counseling without level 3
I have a
diploma.
question, Stefan. You said you took many courses. The thing is, there are too many gurus, or too many complementary health experts in the world, and then I see them at pop-ups, advertisements at TV shows. How can I trust that you are the one who knows what you are doing? Or maybe not to you, like let's say there are too many experts. How should we differentiate which one is real expert, which one are not?
Actually, it is really hard to recognize, but think about normal doctor, okay? Just the doctor. Even they could be fake. Even they could be not really follow their procedures. We just call it, oh my God, it's not good, doctor. You just trust this. So it is a little bit same here. But what is important, first, if someone tell you, I have something and it is magic, you just do it and everything gonna be okay. It is life. You have to work for yourself. You have to change your life. This is responsibility.
There is no
so
immediate
if someone,
change. There is no change, quick change, you mean?
No, there is no quick change. And if someone say, I'll take your responsibility, it is again, is fake. You have to take your responsibility, first of all. And look at what they are doing. For example, in here, I am member of Complementary Medical Associated. So an NHS is okay, this associated. So if someone needs some complementary practitioner, NHS just use who member of CMI. So I am, for example, member CMI. And the other things who have insurance. It is important because a lot of insurance company ask everything about you, which course you did, what is your level, how did your course, are these exam is writing or just test. Even they just make a decision to think about all these things. So if someone have insurance, if someone have some associated, then you can trust. But even is, for example, if you want to go shaman and you can't, the shaman is not have any insurance or just have some associated. But again, now we have an internet, we have everything. You can search and look at what they did before, or talk to their customer, what they feel, or how they treat themselves. Then you can make a decision. But it is all about actually who you are and who you are going. Because I tell you, you can even find a fake real doctor. So yeah, if some but I can say about myself, I'm just so trust myself because I have a CMA member, and they trust me and I trust them, and I have insurance. And even now I finished 28 courses. Even I'm just doing more courses to learn what is going on, and I just keep doing learning. And the other things, what you just understand, if someone look at their life, okay, it's very important, especially in complementary. For example, in our associated, a lot of people choose these, making these things because what they had been through their life. Okay, they first discover all these things in their life. It happened to me. Why I just start doing this again? I am writing. I'm writing. But now this is very important for me because what I found in my inside, I want to share it. So look at the people. What is telling you how they experience what happened before them.
Can we say that you sort of became doctor because of your pains?
Yeah, because I learned all these things, I try to heal my pain because I was so broken. You know, I just came from suicidal state. I lost everything. I just be zero, and I was so seriously suicidal. And I had 2 different psychologists. I did every week twice therapy, and then how I just discovered everything with nature. Okay, and what I saw, therapy really helped me, but nature and the other things is just make everything whole. So now what I discover, what I learn, what I did in my life, and I see the results, so I want to share this knowledge with the other people. But this knowledge is like that. For example, you have a problem, okay? You have an anxiety, let's say. And I'm just not healing you. I am just showing you different way how just you can handle. You just find your way to handle this. So it's just 2 things is so important. for me, what I learned to take my responsibility, and I learned not take the other people responsibility, but I'll show the way, and they have to take their responsibility. And when you follow your heart, and when you start listen nature, and I'll just show you a lot of different small practice, then you just follow and living happily.
Thank you very much. I think you have very interesting things to tell. I would like to host you again in another programs. Thank you very much joining from Wales. Have a nice day.
I would like to. Thank you.
Hi, I hope you had a great time at Dr. Zero Show, and if you want other people to hear it, please follow me at Facebook, YouTube, Twitter. Don't forget to follow Reportare, and don't forget to follow Dr. Zero Show. If you have any suggestions, recommendations, please get in touch with me. I will be glad to communicate with you and listen what you suggest. See you. Bye.